I welcome everyone to Tips and Tea with Linnea FNP. For those who don't know, my name is Linnea Baker. I am a board certified family nurse practitioner, and I am a certified health and well-being coach. I am so excited to get to talk with you guys tonight about cortisol and how it impacts our overall health. There's a lot of buzz around cortisol. It comes up a lot when I'm coaching my clients. And I thought it was a good topic to cover to bring a little more awareness about what it is and how it impacts our health and what we can do with cortisol levels. Okay. So first, what is cortisol? And I got this from the Cleveland Clinic. But cortisol is actually a steroid hormone, okay? And it's produced in the adrenal glands, and your adrenal glands sit on top of each of your kidneys. So just so you kind of get a visual of that. And we need cortisol. It impacts a lot of functions in our body, but it's actually responsible for our fight or flight response. Cortisol impacts our metabolism. It helps our body use the fats, proteins, and carbohydrates. It helps decrease inflammation. It regulates blood pressure and blood sugar. And it also has an impact on our sleep-wake cycle. So that's a lot of different areas of when we talk about a healthy lifestyle: sleep, our blood sugar, our blood pressure, utilizing body's fats, proteins, and carbohydrates, and also affecting our metabolism and our sleep-wake cycle. That's a lot of impact on a lot of major functions that we need for when we talk about a holistic, healthy lifestyle, right? So I will tell you, I get people that I'll be coaching, and they've been doing great. We have an individualized health plan for them. They're doing great. And then all of a sudden they start gaining weight, or maybe they're diabetic and they're telling me their blood sugars are going up, or their blood pressure is going up, or they're struggling. They're not going in the direction they want to go. And they're telling me they're still exercising the same, and they're eating everything exactly like we had talked about. They're doing all the things to support their gut health. They're eating an anti-inflammatory nutrition plan. And when I get with them, I will usually tell them, let's hop on a phone call or meet if they're close by, and I break it down. And when it comes down to it, the two things that I can usually identify that are impacting them negatively, it's not that they're not following their nutrition plan or that they're not doing their exercise. It's either stress and or a lack of sleep. Okay, and it can even be a good stress or a more negative stress, but stress in general. If they're under chronic stress, they've had a stress impact in their life, or they're not getting enough sleep. Those are the two things that will mess up their health. And so they get frustrated because they think it's a matter of what they're eating, and it's so much bigger than that. And that's why I say I'm holistic. And I like to break down kind of what else is going on in your life, because it's not just as simple. And I've told you this before, I don't believe in calories in, calories out. Our bodies are way more complex than that. And it's not as simple as what calories you eat, how many calories a day, and how many calories you burn. That is not how our bodies work. And that's why the calories in, eat less, move more only works for the short term and then doesn't work. Okay. And we've done talks about that. And if you're interested, I can tag you in that. Just let me know if you want to know where that video is. But at the end of the day, our bodies are way more complex than that. And I can tell you, it usually comes down to when they're doing the other healthy habits, it's either their sleep is not where it needs to be and or their stress levels have changed. So they're having more stress. So cortisol, like I said, is responsible. It's the stress hormone, and it actually is also known as the fight or flight response. And cortisol helps the body by limiting certain functions that the body needs during fight or flight situations. Okay, so it kind of kicks you into gear and helps you either leave the situation or stay in fight. And the problem is cortisol is great for the short term. We need cortisol. Cortisol is actually supposed to bump in the morning. So when we wake up, we get up and we have energy. So we should have cortisol at different levels during the day. It shouldn't always be high and it shouldn't always be low. The problem is when we're under constant stress, it's like this cortisol is on overdrive being released and it doesn't stop. And that's where it can cause damage. Okay. So when I talk about stress, stress is anything that can cause physical, emotional, or psychological strain. All right. It's the body's response to anything that requires our attention or action. Okay. And everyone will have stress. They experience stress to some degree. It's just how we handle the stress. Everyone has a different way of responding to stress and has different triggers for stress, but we all experience stress. That's normal. That's part of life. But the way we respond to it, which is different for each person, is a big difference in how it impacts our overall health and well-being. And that's a definition from the WHO, the World Health Organization. Okay. There's different types of stress. I told you there's acute stress where it's a short-term response, like you go to step off the curb and there's a car flying out and you jump back, right? Because you don't want to get hit. Maybe you're giving a speech or doing a presentation like this and it gives you makes you nervous. That's an acute stress, a short-term, normal response. Chronic stress is when it's long-term and ongoing. You have a lot of anxiety, maybe, or frustration, such as maybe there's financial problems in your home. Maybe you're dealing with a chronic illness, chronic medical condition. Maybe there's you're having difficulty in a relationship. Those things cause stress that goes on for a long period of time and impacts your health negatively, or can impact your health negatively. We don't want chronic stress like that. And then traumatic stress is when we experience a life-threatening event or something that causes fear or maybe a feeling of helplessness, like soldiers who've gone to war may experience that. Maybe we were in a car accident and that left trauma on us, or maybe we had some other devastating personal type traumatic event that creates stress for us. Okay. Now, chronic stress, according to the Mayo Clinic, it makes you feel like you're under attack or you're in that fight or flight mode, like it's turned on all the time and you can't turn it off. People who have chronic anxiety will know what I'm talking about. It's like the head doesn't turn off. You get that feeling in your gut, like you're nauseous and the butterflies, and you feel like you need to go or do something. You're having trouble sleeping. You're responding. You think you're responding to a stressor, but it's because that anxiety is cranked up and making you feel stress. And that's when it's helpful to go in and see somebody, a counselor and or your doctor, or even a psychiatrist, to maybe look at options on how you can help control that, because that can be totally devastating to your overall health. All right. So when we're under this chronic stress, this cortisol's kicked in and going over and over and over again, and it's not turning off, it actually impacts your body's functions. So some of the problems you can get when cortisol is cranked up and you're under chronic stress can be, like I said, anxiety, depression. You can have digestive problems. You may be experiencing headaches. You may have muscle tension or pain. I know some people will like clench their jaw, or I know for me, when I'm under stress, it's my neck and shoulders and my jaw clenching that get it. People can experience heart attacks, heart disease, high blood pressure, and even strokes. They can have sleep problems. They can gain weight. And they can have memory and concentration problems, okay? And that's why it's important to learn about how do we handle these different stressors, because they affect people individually a little bit differently, but that cortisol level, when it's turned up and it's ongoing, it has a negative impact on our overall health, okay? And so we want to be able to control the response so that it's not giving us a negative impact. There's going to be things that happen, things that we can't control, and it's how we respond to it. Okay. And some people have a lower stress tolerance and some people have a higher stress tolerance. And a lot of that's just individualized. But when cortisol stays up and it's got your body in this fight or flight response mode, cortisol actually can cause inflammation. So what happens is, initially, cortisol can actually boost your immune system and decrease inflammation and limit inflammation. But when it's turned on too long, it's consistently high levels of cortisol. Because of chronic stress, it can actually lead to having more inflammation and less of a robust immune system. And guys, remember, we've talked about chronic inflammation, and we said that chronic inflammation in our body is the root or the playground or the root cause of these chronic diseases like heart disease, obesity, diabetes, autoimmune diseases, many types of cancers. So we don't want chronic inflammation in our body either. And this is how it can work against us. Cortisol, when the levels go up, cause your blood pressure to go up. So if you're under chronic stress and your cortisol level remains high, guess what? Your blood pressure will stay high. And that causes a negative impact on your health. I've had diabetic patients that tell me, I don't get it. Linnea, I'm exercising, I'm eating the right foods. I don't get why my blood sugar numbers are staying high. And I will go through and ask questions. And what it comes down to usually is a stress, a chronic stress or an acute stress in that time that's bumping their blood sugar. Because when we have chronic stress, it increases our blood sugar levels. And so people who already are diabetic are going to struggle more. And it can actually lead to diabetes by giving us higher levels of blood sugar over and over again, right? If the cortisol levels are staying up and we're constantly stressed and anxious and we're creating inflammation and our blood sugar levels are going up, guess what can happen, guys? Over time, we can actually lead to especially if we're more susceptible to it, prediabetes or diabetes, because that is a lifestyle disease we talked about, right? So the good news is there's things we can do about it. Okay. And it comes down to our habits and our lifestyle choices. And when I tell you guys, I read a lot, I listen to a lot of podcasts, and I read this book, The Power of One More, by Ed Milet. He's a motivational speaker and he has a podcast that's fantastic. He has amazing guest speakers that come on his show. And he talks about how when we're in that fight or flight mode, our brain actually flips a switch and we go into a reflex mode. Okay, think about it. When you're in fight or flight, your body doesn't have time to think and process things. You're reacting. You're in a reflex mode. You're either running or you're staying, right? You don't think things through. Your body's in a reactive state. And so we go into a reflex mode, and guess what? Our habits are reflexive. Think about that. Habits are things we do like on autopilot over and over again, and we don't think about them. So when say we've been building healthy habits and we just started, and something very stressful happens, well, we fall back into our habits. And if our habits that we are on autopilot and used to doing every day are unhealthy, those are the habits we fall back on until we've replaced them with the new habits that we've intentionally set. And it can take about 3 weeks at least to really get those good habits going. And it can take a few months for them to actually be like permanent habits. I can tell you now that if I'm in a stressful situation or something happens, I'm not somebody, I used to be a stress eater, or like a lot of us want that comfort food, or we want something sweet, or you talk about people, sometimes they just want to eat the ice cream and they're just feeling down and they just want to soothe themselves and get that dopamine hit and that feel good hormone from having something that's hyper palatable, maybe chocolate, or maybe it's like some kind of savory, heavier meal. Maybe it's something like, they want to eat the pizza or go eat the burger and fries or drink the milkshake, right? But that's actually, those habits are unhealthy. And if you're under stress for a long period of time and you're falling back on unhealthy habits, then that's where you're going to gain weight and start destroying the habits that maybe you were starting to work on. Right? So that's why it's important to build the consistency with new healthy habits. And that's part of what I do with coaching and working with clients. It's walking them through and helping them get back on track if they have a bump in the road, because life happens, and getting them to the point where these habits are so routine and autopilot and they're healthy habits that they don't even fall back on the old unhealthy ones, because these are the habits now that are autopilot. And it may have to do with their nutrition. It may have to do with their sleep, like all the things, right? And so consistency is key in building a healthy habit, because remember, it compounds over time. So I told you I started my health journey about 3.5 years ago. It's been now. And every 6 months to a year that I look back as I've been on this health journey, I've changed how I look. I haven't changed a lot of what I've been doing. I've been very consistent in slowly building good habits, healthy habits for all areas of my life. Stress, nutrition, exercise, sleep, community is a big one. Being mindful of alcohol. I don't smoke or use any kind of nicotine products or smokeless or vape type products. Like all the things you want to do to make sure you're teed up for success and building healthy habits. And I just keep improving on them, but I haven't stopped and I haven't done anything drastic that I from what I did 3.5 years ago. But I can tell you that when you look at pictures of me from 6 months ago, a year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, I'm still improving and I'm still, my health is still getting better. Why? Because it's compounding over time, because I'm staying consistent. A friend of mine recently needed a video on fiber. And I had done a video on fiber. And it's been about 2 years ago. It was about 2 years ago I did this video. That means I would have been on my health journey a little over a year by then, maybe almost a year and a half. I looked at that video. One, it was rough because it was one of my newer videos. So I was just walking into that area of learning how to present to you guys in a way where I don't have someone in front of me that I'm staring at and in a room like I used to do in clinic, and I can read body language and see. So it's a very different ball game. If you haven't talked to on a Facebook Live or Zoom, it's a very different experience than doing something in person. And so I was experimenting and growing in that area. So it's a little bit rougher video, but just looking at how I looked, I felt great then, so much better than I had a year and a half before that. And I looked better than I did a year and a half before that. And it's not the vain piece of it. It's I could see the health impact and the improvement in my health compounded over time, the 2 years since then. And have I done anything drastically different from what I was doing then? No. But I've continuously maintained my healthy habits and it's compounded over time. So you don't need to be drastic. You just need to be consistent, and you don't have to change everything at once. We build small daily healthy habits, progress over perfection, and you just get better and better at it as it becomes a habit. So when we have something that triggers our stress response, we want to be able to find positive ways to cope with this. And there's actually a lot of information out now on neuroplasticity and how our brain can be rewired. So, for instance, something that was a stressful childhood experience for me is that we had cold water for our showers when I was in middle school and high school growing up in New York. And our house wasn't very well insulated. So in a winter in New York, it was really, really cold. And I mean, to this day, I've always told my kids, like, I get the hot shower first. Don't run out of hot water before mom gets a shower. I just need a 5-minute hot shower, but I want a hot shower. And then I started listening to more about hormesis and how our bodies need that kind of little bit of stress with cold, or they even talk about infrared sauna. And that's a positive stress on our body. Obviously, you have to be careful how long and the temperature, and there's a whole science behind it. But basically what I've done is take that negative childhood experience of having this cold shower in the mornings in a cold house in the winter in New York before school. And I've turned into, well, that was just my family's way of helping my body be able to handle stress and improve my health, because it was like we were doing a cold plunge hormesis through a cold shower way before that was ever something people were really talking about. And so I flipped it so it's not like a big trigger for me anymore, just in the research I've been doing, which is so crazy, right? So I talked about your habits compound over time. And when we actually spend time building healthy habits in ourselves and pouring into ourselves, it actually ripples out into all other areas of our life, and it impacts the people we love most. So our families and our relationships are positively impacted when we build healthy habits and pour into ourselves so that we start feeling good. Our productivity goes up. In fact, my creativity and productivity have gone up significantly since I stopped leaving myself off the list or last on the list. And I started pouring into myself and learning what true healthy habits were and how to build them. And it also ripples out in our mindset and our mental health. So, like we talked about, anxiety, depression, trouble focusing, all those areas we can improve on. Sometimes we need medical intervention, and that's okay. But there's also a lot of things we can do to improve it, just from, like I've said, the gut is the second brain. So, the things we put in our gut, the foods we eat, impact our brain. The way we talk to ourselves, a lot of us have that negative self-talk. I would say most people, I mean, we're wired that way. Just the way we are as humans, we're wired to have a negative self-talk, and it's more of a preservation human experience. But we can rewire that, because we don't need that negative type of scary, like we're going to step out and a dinosaur is going to step on us type of experience. We don't live in a world like that anymore, where we need that turned on all the time. So we can retrain and rewire our brains with this neuroplasticity, where we can make new, different connections to a stressful trigger and respond differently. But we have to be intentional with it while we're going through it. Okay. But these new neural pathways and new connections are possible. And so when we want to talk about managing chronic stress, it is working on our mindset and being able to rewire these connections, knowing what our triggers are and what our stress response is to those triggers, and what we consider stressful events, because stress may be different for different people. It really is. There's things that I laugh about sometimes, because, like, my daughter, she's had such a great life, and I'm so grateful I've been able to provide her and my husband and I a great life for her, for the most part. I mean, everyone has stressors and things that happen, right? I mean, her dad was active duty military and deployed. There's things in her life that have been stressful for her, but compared to my childhood, her childhood stressors are completely different and much less than how I grew up. And there's things that she will stress out about. And I mean, she's still young. She's only 19. So some of it's her age. But I just laugh, because I'm like, if that's the worst thing that's ever happened to you, you are so blessed. I'm like, that wouldn't have even remotely set me off at her age, because I was in survival mode for way bigger issues than that. And it's just funny when you look at it in a different perspective of how some things, it takes a lot more to set somebody off and create stress, versus somebody else, it can take less. And it's personality, it's your mindset, it's past experiences, all those things, right? All right, so how do we manage stress? So guys, I've been talking about it, healthy habits. We want to build healthy habits. We want to eat the nutritious diet that supports our gut health and is anti-inflammatory. We want to get regular exercise. We cannot, I cannot stress enough how much just walking at a moderate pace, 30 minutes a day, is going to have a positive impact on helping you manage stress. And we want to get plenty of sleep. And I've told you before, 7 hours is the minimum to making sure you get at least 7 hours of quality sleep a night. There's other things we can do, and things that I experiment with and use. You can practice meditation. You can do yoga or deep breathing. You can get a massage, maybe prayer time, okay, reading a devotional. Also journaling. I love gratitude journaling, writing down thoughts about what you're grateful for in your life. When you are in a grateful mindset and you write that down, and it has to be detailed. I'm not like, oh, I'm grateful for my home, I'm grateful for my family, like specifics, like get down to details. I'm grateful that I have a home that keeps me warm and sheltered, and is a safe space that my children love to come visit and spend time with us, or something along that lines. But journaling, when you're journaling gratitude, you can't have gratitude and fear and negativity in the same mindset. When you're grateful, you're not going to have a negative mindset, because you're flipping the switch in your brain and rewiring your brain. Enjoying hobbies, like maybe reading a book that helps with building your mindset or personal growth. Okay. Maybe listening to music that's positive. Okay. You want to watch what you listen to, read, or watch on TV, because if it's more of a negative type of influence, I know the news can be really overwhelming and negative. That's something I'm very cautious on and don't spend a lot of time staring at, because it's on 24/7 and it can really impact your mind negatively. So I tend to really limit how much time I watch the news. Also, maybe nurturing your friendships with with people. I know I've been blessed to have amazing friendships and beautiful ladies in my life. And one of my great friends, we actually we go hiking on Sunday mornings most of the time. And that is something that it's exercise, it's outdoors, and it's connection with a dear friend. So I'm hitting a lot of different healthy habits when I do that one. So spending quality time with friends and family and building those relationships. Also having a sense of humor, finding ways to laugh at life. Sometimes you just gotta laugh. That's my husband's motto. And he doesn't matter how stressful it is or what's going on, that man will make me laugh till I cry. And it's such a great characteristic of his. And I love it. I mean, obviously there's a time and a place, but he knows just when to bring the humor and just you laugh at the situation, right? So instead of crying, we're laughing. So laughter is a good thing. Maybe you volunteer in your community. It's always nice to do community service or do things for others and having a serving heart. I have a huge serving heart and love to bless and help others as much as I can. And that can be something that helps you deal with stress and manage stress. You want to organize and prioritize things at home and work so that you are not feeling under the gun or you're constantly working in urgency or stressfulness. You want, if you're more organized and have a good plan of attack for what, and setting realistic goals for what you can do at home and at work, that can help you as well. And then we've also talked about seeking professional counseling so that maybe you can develop some better coping skills with stress or manage stress. Sometimes medication is necessary, even if it's just for the short term. But all these things are helpful in dealing with stress, and don't be embarrassed by it. I think, just from the experiences I've had working in healthcare for over 25 years, I think one of the problems is people feel like they're alone and that other people don't experience the things they're experiencing. And I can tell you that's so untrue. I will tell you the majority of people are experiencing stress, negative self-talk, don't feel comfortable in their skin or feel good in their body or in their clothes. They're anxious, they're depressed, and they're not taking care of themselves. Unfortunately, that's what's the norm in the United States. And I'm here to help you take one step in front of the other. And let's change that. Let's change the story, because you deserve better than that. And I've been where you are, and that's why I understand completely how easy it is to get there and not even know how to begin to get out. And that's why I'm passionate about what I get to do now. So some action steps, guys. Tag friends and invite friends to this group or to my YouTube channel, Tips and Tea, or to my Tips and Tea private Facebook group, depending on where you're seeing this, because they need to hear this too, and they may know people that need to hear this, all right? My purpose is to really positively impact your health and wellness through education and coaching to create generational health and a health span that equals your lifespan, okay? And I'm very passionate about what I get to do. This is my passion and my purpose. And when you invite people to my Facebook Tips and Tea group, you tag them in these videos, it helps me share more with more people. And some people, they really just need to hear this. In fact, it's amazing to me when I meet people that I haven't met before, I don't know who they are, and they tell me that this left an impact on them in some way that impacted their health in a positive way. That gives me so much joy. And that's why I do this. I do this for free because I want to positively impact your health and wellness and help create positive, healthy changes in your life. So you get to live life to the fullest and pour into the ones you love more and be more productive and enjoy your life. Okay. So the other thing we can do is we want to look at the triggers, our stressors, what's triggering us and what can we control? How can we manage it more positively? And what would we, how could we go about decreasing the stress that's this stressor on us for the rest of the year? What are some things we could do to make it less? We also want to look at our daily routine and look at what are the automatic habits. Do I automatically get up, get a coffee and go through the drive-through at McDonald's or grab a donut or go to Starbucks? Or do I get up and have a glass of water? Maybe have a nutritious breakfast. What are your habits? What do you do automatically that you don't even realize because it's just so automatic, you don't even think about it? Decide if it's a good habit or an unhealthy habit. Can you think of a healthier habit to replace the unhealthy one? And what would that be? Then pick one thing you do daily that you would like to improve and make a healthier habit. That makes it intentional because it's bringing it to your conscious awareness so you can be more intentional with it. And you should intentionally focus on that and try to swap out for that healthier option. Because if you intentionally focus on it over time, remember it takes time, but in about 3 weeks, you can create a healthy habit from an unhealthy one. And then over the next few months, it can be a permanent healthy habit. It's just consistency. Okay. Remember, guys, I'm here. And if you're frustrated or feeling overwhelmed, you're not sure how to begin a health journey. You don't know, you're so confused with all the different information on nutrition, what to do or not to do. Whatever it is, just comment below or reach out to me. You can private message me. You can email me. I'll put my email in the comments for you. But reach out to me, and there's no obligation, but let's chat and let's see if there's something I can do to help you get going on that positive health journey to impact your life and the ones that you love around you. Okay. I'm here for you. I'm grateful for you. And until next time, guys, be safe. And I look forward to talking with you again soon. I really hope this brought you value. Thanks so much.